Alright, what is, hold on, let me fix this. Alright, what is up, guys? Losomanic here, and welcome back to another video. Today, I figured I'd talk about, I figured since I'm out of a job now, and I wanted to talk about this, ever since, like November rolled around, but since it is the 2nd of December, I did make a video on this, but I deleted it. Because a lot of these videos I make, I don't end up posting because they're either they need context to talk about, and I'm not good at like adding photos and whatnot to videos, or I just didn't like them. So I have stopped videos like right in the middle of recordings just because I wasn't happy with it. But this one, I want to re-talk about talk. I am gonna upload this one because this was something I planned on uploading anyways. But since I didn't get around to it, yeah. So today I want to talk about some like work stories, but this time it's a bit different. Sorry. Where is? Let me just. There we go. I need to start cleaning these before I record. I had a hair on my camera, and camera's blurry. I've talked about work before, but I figured since, but this one's a bit different because the place I worked at had like a Halloween theme to it. So I worked all of October, Fridays through Sundays because that's when they were open. They were open on days where kids didn't have school. Because here in Washington, if I remember, they get off school in like June, but then they have July and August off, and then they come back in September. Now, where I'm from, Colorado, we had May off, but then we had June and July, and then we went back in August. Sorry, something is stuck in the back of my throat. I'll be fine. And so, yeah, but I figured since I worked Halloween, I could give you guys some interesting stories because there were plenty. So first, to kind of give a setup, if you guys haven't seen my other videos, I'll kind of give brief. I worked at a theme park from late July to like early August, up until September. I worked behind a games booth, those like games where like you play and you get toys. I worked behind there throughout like 90% of the time I worked there. I worked Saturday, but I was doing something completely different. I was going around cleaning up garbage. And occasionally I worked behind a cash register at like a candy store or whatever. So I was more than just the games booth, but for the most part, that's what I did. And throughout Halloween, considering the fact that like half of the park is closed, that's what I worked behind. So I was very familiar with that stuff. So, um, in fact, I guarantee I still remember what some of the price sizes are. Um, for the most part. Or actually, for all of them, I do. I know for a fact, and I can tell you this right now that as far as there are some games that you may think are rigged, but aren't. I understand Mark Rober made a video talking about like rigged games, so I'll set the record straight. The only ones that are impossible are the ones that Mark Rober says are. The ring toss, so for example, and I'll to mention this before I get onto the stories, because this is an important one. So one of the booths I was working is the ring a bottle, where you throw a ring on a bottle, and if it lands like on the bottle and whatnot, if it gets hooked, then you get a prize. I had one of those. That's not rigged. That's just very hard to do. It's purely luck based. I don't want you thinking it's rigged. It's not. It's purely luck based. Unless your luck is terrible, then yes, it's rigged. But for the most part, generally something like that isn't rigged. You may find these at, for the most part, you may find some of these at like bigger theme parks or carnivals. Like I'm pretty sure it's I don't know how big Six Flags is, but For the most part, these smaller theme parks, like this place was Wild Waves. It's in Federal Way. You can Google it. It's pretty small, but for a theme park, it's pretty average. Um, but some of the I don't know about the other games. There was each booth had like three games, but the one I was working the majority of the time, one of them just wasn't working, or it was closed down. So I don't know about that one, but the ones that were up by the time I was working there, they were not rigged. Some of them was skill based. In fact, a lot of them were skill based. One of them was luck based, and then one of them was chance based. Um, so yeah. Um, So I did work the games booth like most of the time, like all the time that I was working on October or Fright Fest as it's called. I'll be calling it that throughout this video. And before I get on to this, let me just go on a bit of a rant here because this place has like music and whatnot to kind of keep people entertained as they're walking around. It would just seem weird if like you're just walking around and it's just quiet. Especially with how long you're walking. And again, most half of the park is closed, so that's kind of why and whatnot. But I don't know what it is. I don't know who picked the music, but their choice of music was bad. Let me explain. So for whatever reason, there were two cliche songs and overrated songs in terms of Halloween. One of the songs in this set list I actually really enjoy, but in terms of Halloween, it is extremely overrated. So the two songs that I think are overrated is Monster Mash by fucking Longshot and Thriller. Now Thriller I actually do like, but in terms of like Halloween, I think if you keep playing Thriller, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. Um, I'm tired of hearing that song every time it's Halloween because I get it. It's Halloween, it's spooky, and I think that's kind of the point. But there are better and it's always those two. Um and to make things worse, not only did they have those two songs, they had the Kids Bop version of those two songs. I don't know why. Another one that they had was Werewolves of London. They had the original and the Kids Bop version. The Kids Bop version, surprise, surprise, is god awful. I don't know why Kids Bop is still a thing. Um, I guess it's because parents are too lazy to check on what their kids are listening to, but whatever. Because the music is god awful and no one likes them. Yes, I am calling out. No, I'm not calling out Kids Bop. But yeah, and for the most part, I think it would be considering the fact that this is for like the majority of like kids. Like you're not coming here for like for the most part. Like I have seen kids around, mostly just like teenagers and whatnot. So like people my age. Um, but what I find weird is that like Disney had like there some of their stars sing Halloween music. Why not use those? Like Shake It Up was my favorite show growing up, and three of the actors on that show did Monster Mash. Why not do that? I forgot their names. But they did a cover of Monster Mash. Why not do that one? I would have been fine with that one. But that's just not. I don't hate it. I'm just tired of the original one because it's everywhere. Like I guarantee you can't go a single Halloween without listening to Monster Mash. It's just bound to happen. Um, it's basically the Santa Claus is coming to town of Halloween. Like you're bound to hear it. It's inescapable. No matter how hard you try, whether it's the Kids Bop version or the actual version or just a cover of it, if it's Monster Mash in some way, I guarantee you are not going to be able to escape it. Um, during Halloween, it's inevitable. Um, But, or I guess it's the All I Want for Christmas Is You of Halloween, since that's the most annoying song. But you guys get my meaning. Um, and they weren't even playing, like, for the most part, they were playing songs that were Halloween related. Like I mentioned before, Monster Mash and Thriller. They were playing. Don't Fear the Reaper by the Blue Oyster Cults. They were playing Bark at the Moon um, by Ozzy Osbourne. But here, speaking of which, here's where things get a bit weird. Because I don't know who it was, but whoever made the like music playlist thinks that like all heavy metal songs is Halloween themed because they played Crazy Train. That's not even a Halloween song. It's not. It's not a Halloween song. Maybe if it was Halloween theme, like I'm going trick or treating on a crazy train or whatever. Like if they changed the lyrics to be Halloween themed, then that's fine. That's the point. But if you're just playing the original song, that's not Halloween themed, and therefore it shouldn't be played. How did I make that work? God, if I ever get big, I need to create that song. If I get popular, I'm gonna make a Halloween themed Crazy Train. It's gonna happen. But the point is that there were better songs, and no hate to Ozzy Osbourne. I think I like Crazy Train. I like Bark at the Moon. Kinda. It's been a while since I've heard it. But I do think that like Bark at the Moon is a an acceptable Halloween song because it's almost like werewolves, essentially. Like that's what it is, and that kind of leads into Werewolves of London. I forgot who sung it. Where I get the idea is werewolf, but that doesn't mean anything, you know. Like the song isn't even about turning into a werewolf. I'm not sure what it's about. Maybe it is Halloween themed, but to me, it doesn't come across as such. Um, Now there are better songs to play. They played Dragula, but that was like maybe once or twice. It wasn't as common as Thriller or Monster Mash, but for the most part, they did play it. Now there are better songs to play. If you're feeling a bit risky, Living Dead Girl is a good one. Even though I do say risky because there's a line of dripping with sin, so maybe that one's not a good idea. But still, at least it's better than Crazy Train. Or hell, even Fear of the Dark by Iron Maiden. That's a pretty good one. It's being scared of the dark, like a common phobia every kid has at one point or another. I'm not sure about this generation because they're so like hooked on technology that they barely fucking sleep. So they only sleep when they're tired, when they get like really drowsy and tired. They fall asleep when their body tells them to, not when they want to. Like I'm pretty sure that that's what this generation, this newer generation of like Gen Alpha is like. Um and so yeah, so they need better. They play here. Here's the dumb part. So my booth, I had to like get a supervisor to get one of the because my booth had like the larger toys, so I had to get a supervisor for help. And as I was walking with the supervisor to my booth, they played like the Jaws theme song or like the yeah. And then at first I was like, okay, here we go. And then it transitioned into Baby Shark. I'm like, very fitting. That song is so annoying. It's terrifying. So I get it, but it's super annoying. And I was like, "Oh, this is my worst nightmare. Like I can't handle this." So and Baby Shark isn't Halloween themed at all. Why? Because it's a fucking shark and that's what Jaws was? Why don't just keep playing the Jaws theme song or whatever? There were better songs to play. Play the freaking Nightmare on Elm Street theme song. Play Friday the 13th if it has one. Just do the thing. Just do that. Do something. Don't play all these stupid pop musics that are not related to Christmas or related to Halloween at all. It makes no sense. So yeah, I think you guys get the point. Let's move on to the stories. I spent a couple of minutes, like 10 minutes, just talking about this. Or 12 minutes just talking about it. So yeah, so obviously I worked the games booth. There were for the most part it's pretty normal, but there were on occasion just some people who just were a bit different than most. I've had a lot of people were nice, a lot of people were a lot of people were nice. I did have like mean people every now and then, but that comes with well, I guess not mean people, but just like needy people, I guess. Because my like I understand that like my job is to like be courteous and kind to everyone, but I get paid to do that. But if I wasn't being paid to do that, you bet your ass I'd just be telling everyone to go fuck themselves. Like that's pretty much it. Like I'm pretty sure most of us who aren't nice are nice because we're getting paid to do so. Like I'm not a nice person. Well, I'm not an asshole, but like to me, I just have the urge to just want to be like, ugh, shut up. No one cares. Um, and it shows in most of my. I don't think it shows in most of my videos. But yeah. So for the but we did have like Halloween themed like toys and whatnot. Not all of them. My booth didn't. Well, sometimes I work different booths. But for the most part, generally just Halloween themed stuff. No one wanted those. Let me tell you, the only time they got the Halloween theme was if they won it. But we offer like different options. So I'd be like, do you want these Halloween themed toys because it's Halloween, or do you want these boring, disgusting September toys? What I mean by like September was like it was hung up all year round, but like for them or like since it was opening. But I mean, come on. If you're gonna go with Halloween, why not just go with it's Halloween? Just liven up a bit. Go with the Halloween themed toys. Like, come on. It's no big deal. Um, and so yeah, barely anyone picked. If they had a choice between the Halloween toys and regular toys, they always got the regular toys. A lot of tails wanted that day. Anyways, um, yeah, I did work the like ring a bottle one, so I have to hear like metal banging on, or I guess hard plastic banging on glass a lot. It's so damn annoying. And I'm trying to think. And for the most part, everyone was fine. I did get the occasional winner because it's not rigged. People have won. One of the toys a lot of people wanted was the dog toy. It was like to show how big these are. I am 6'5". Last time I measured myself, I am 6'5", and they were about like half my size. Like they were about I guess 4 foot. It was insane. Like if you got like a little person or dwarf, or to kind of give you context as to who I'm talking, if you got like a dwarf, it would be taller than them or as tall as them. Like that's how serious this is. It was so goddamn. And the hardest part about this was it was the fact that they're massive and I'm frail as hell. I may look buff, but these are just fat. These aren't muscles. These are fat. Um, and so getting them up there because we had to like hang them on a hook. Like my supervisor was like, "Yeah, just hang them up. We don't want them sitting around." I was like, "I feel like that's obvious, but are you kidding me? Like what?" I had to like take them. The hardest part of getting them on is that they're so big that I have to like hug them and be like, "Oh God, just get on there." I had to like force the head back so that way the hook can get on the pole or whatever, the strut or whatever, the slot that it goes on. And then it just stuck there. But then like it's like leaning off could be like a big problem for the game. It could like the ring could like bounce off and land on it or land on the bottle and whatnot. It was so fucking crazy. Let me tell you. And it was different. I think the hardest part about that, and I hated explaining the games so much, especially that one because it was 15 rings for 5 and 50 rings for 10. Do you know how hard it is to say 15 and 50 with your with your face mask on? It is so difficult because people are like, hold on, 50 rings for 5 and 50 rings for 10. Why not just make it 15? Because we didn't. All these other booths had like the pricings on them, so like you can see like, oh, it's 2 throws for 5 or 5 throws for 10. Which yes, that's an actual pricing thing. It's 2 throws for 5 and 5 throws for 10 for some of these. Um, don't ask me. I don't make the rules. I just enforce them. I say that like I'm a police officer. I'm not. But it's weird. It's weird because so it was. It's not weird. I don't know why I say that. I say stuff just to say them. But yeah, it. So I just hated like explaining that game because I have to say like it's 15 rings for 5 and 50 rings for 10. I have to speak to them like they're fucking retarded when when they're not. I just have to like specify like it's 15 or 50. Or like I guess not like they're retarded, but they're like slow like hey, it's 15 or 50 for 10, you know? That sort of thing. It was I hated explaining that game, but I hate people also. So first of all, working at a place like that, no shot. Wor- worst idea, I guess, but I had fun working there. Just cause I don't know. At least I'm working. And I barely had to deal with people, anyways. But yeah. I'm trying to think. But yeah, so I guess the hard part about working at that booth at for that game was whenever people won, I would have to like take it off of um the thing that's supporting them because the hooks is like little small ones. It's about the size of a paper clip. Let me keep tabs as to where this paper clip is. Yeah, it's about this size. Yeah, it's pretty small, but it gets the job done. There's nothing really much you can nothing much there. But that's the hard part is you have like a mini hook on something that's about the size of a kid. It's fucking ridiculous, and it's about as tall as Kevin Hart. I imagine. I don't know how tall Kevin Hart is, but I imagine Kevin Hart's just a bit taller than them, maybe by like a foot. Like that's how giant these things are. And you guys probably know the sizes I'm talking about. So yeah, the hardest part was getting them off because with the other ones, it's as simple as like I can push them up and then the hooks come off and then I have it. I can just find the hook, take it off, and then just give it to them. But with this one, I had to like use both hands, like lift it up, find the hook, make sure or like find it, and then take it off. Make sure I don't knock off all the bottles, or knock over all the bottles, and then just hand it to them. Well, I don't hit the bottles because I'd have to like reset the bottles back up, and I'm not about to have that. So yeah, that was the hardest part. And then so occasionally during this time, I had two groups of people who just overloaded my ADHD up until the point that I was just like, I'm done. I can't anymore. Because usually when it comes to me working, I have like sort of like a passive, not a passive aggressive attitude, but I'm very like moderate to like a bit hatred. Um, it turns to hatred if there's kids around, but if there's like teenagers or adults who are just having fun and they're minding their business. They're not entitled. Then I'm pretty moderate. But if there's kids around, I have a bitter hatred of 1,000 sons. So there's that. And what's weird. But sorry, I keep saying it. But what's weird? I'm not sure why. But so this one group of people, it was close to like the end of my shift, and I know this because like my supervisor just closed the game that I wasn't working on. Um, well, she was just hanging by, or she was also hanging by and just closed, like I mentioned before, she closed the stall that I wasn't working at, or the game that I wasn't working behind, because we have garage doors and whatnot. Um, so she closed the garage door of that game. So I knew that like this was my last person, like this was my last group. And that's the signal, usually. And so they kept talking all at once. It was just so much for me to handle that I legit had to say, like, one at a time, please. I'm slow. I can't hear all of you one at a time. And then so I dealt with them. And then as it was done, my supervisor came over and she's like, pretty sure they were intoxicated. I was like, I do not doubt that. For a goddamn moment. um, so yeah, that was tough. And then the other one, I'm not really sure what overloaded them. I think they were just too happy and too energetic for me, or they was just kind of like that last group. They overburdened me with a lot of stuff, and it was just I was complaining to people. I was like, they were a bit much. I have ADHD and autism. They were just a lot. And then there was like, oh yeah, take your time. And I was like, nope, this isn't therapy. This is a theme park. Let's go. Like, I pulled myself together, but I was pretty much out of it. It's like the charade of like you're just like, like I hate everyone, and then your mom's like, fix your face before I fix it for you, and you're like, okay, like that's what it was. I had to like force myself to just be like, I can do this, and it wasn't easy because usually and what's fun is that like if there's like multiple people coming in at once or they want to keep playing the same stuff, usually I'll just be like, okay, cool, like as long as I understand what you're trying to do and whatnot, um but and they want to play to win. Like that's their thing. They want to play because they want to. They're playing because they want to win, and if they keep playing, that means they want to win. And I applaud that because I'm that same way. I keep doing all this stuff because I want to win. That's why I'm terrible at Fallout 76. I played it recently. I'm god awful at it. Even though it's multiplayer, whatever. Anyways, so the thing. God. The thing with not relevant. The thing with this was that they overshot my ADHD or they overloaded my ADHD so much that whenever I saw the same group of people, I was just like, get the fuck out. I don't want you anymore. Get out. Go away. I don't want to deal with you and your stupid face anymore. Granted, it was a kid, so that's also understandable. But still, like that's just how it is, and whatnot. Um, and like I said, I'm paid to be nice, so that's kind of I'm paid to do my job, and doing my job is make sure people are happy, which means I have to be nice. So I was basically being paid to be nice. So that's why I'm pretty sure if I wasn't, I would have throat punched like half of these people. I guarantee you. If you guys watched if some of you guys watched my other work stories, then you guys will know of the fact that one of the people I dealt with was very like um very entitled into believing that he deserved a toy whenever he did it, or at least multiple toys when he made multiple shots on basketball, and he got aggressive with me that I just gave him a refund of like the $10 that I accidentally did not give him, or that I didn't give him accidentally. So, and he called me a dumbass bitch. If you guys didn't watch it, it was pretty funny. But yeah, so with that, but yeah, so I wanted to throw a punch about half of these people, but I couldn't because I was getting paid to be nice to people, not throat punch them. If I got a bonus for throat punching them, you bet your ass I'd be punching. We'd all be throat punching people left and right, and not all, but some people who work here who do not like their job. I'm pretty sure half of us would have just throat punched these people so many damn times. It's ridiculous. And I'm not kidding. I've had some people. I've met some coworkers who are like, I don't like working here. It's like, well, then why are you working here? It's like, because, bitch, I need to be paid. It's like, fair enough. And yeah, so, okay, overloaded ADHD. I'm trying to think. Yeah, there were the occasional people where I would just be nice to them just to shut them up. Just because I had to. another thing that bothered me was we had like two haunted mansions or mansion. They weren't houses. They were just like a trails outdoors and whatnot. Um, but what was difficult was the games was like the end of the mansion. So that way, like you leave the mansion and then boom, there's games if you wanted to play. But what was infuriating was seeing all these people skipping all the games to try and because there's like a barricade to let you know like, hey, these aren't this isn't the front, this is the back of the mansion. Because apparently these people are so fucking blind that they don't see people fucking leaving for the most part, and they're like, oh, so this is the end of the mansion. They're like, oh no, this is the front. Or they think like, oh no, this is the front. I don't know why the fuck they're leaving. Maybe it's because a lot of these people think it's the mansion, and no one wants to go to the mansion. I want to go to the mansion. And eventually they get stopped by security, and they're like, no, this is the back of the mansion. They had to go all the way to the front of the park to go to the front of the mansion, by the way. But again, there was so like we had a bunch of like scare actors, and there was one scare actor that is my absolute favorite was because if there's one thing I hate about haunted houses is there's always one haunted house with a goddamn fake chainsaw, and I hate chainsaws in haunted houses because I don't care how boring it is whatnot. If I'm like, oh, that's scary and whatnot, like I'm like, this is fucking terrifying. Like, oh, I ain't scared. I'm like, oh, I'm definitely terrified and whatnot. If there's a chainsaw chasing me, that is the scariest shit ever. And so, but what's better is if you are not on the receiving end of that. So there was like this one dude with like a fake chainsaw and whatnot, and he would chase people to get them to leave the haunted house. It was so goddamn entertaining to watch. And it was like every day for like half of the month, and then like the last 2 weeks or so, he just stopped showing up. I'm not sure why. And then every now and then, I just be like, where is he? Like, he's supposed to be showing, like, people are leaving, he's supposed to be showing up. And, like, the first batch of people would leave, it's nothing, and the second batch would leave. I'm like, where the fuck is he? And then as the third bunch is leaving, I just hear the chainsaw. I'm like, there he is, right on cue. So yeah, and they didn't tell me much about like what to do. So they didn't tell me like where the parks were or like where the haunted houses were. I only knew where one was because it was like right there, and I've heard people say like, okay, you're gonna want to go to the front of the park. Like that's pretty much it. We had two. I didn't know what the other one was. If there's one thing I still don't know of, is where the bathrooms are to this place. No idea where the fucking bathrooms are. Someone asked like, where's the bathroom? I'm like, I don't know. I've worked here for 2 months, no idea where they are. I didn't know. I guess I still don't really know. So if we ever go with like family and they're like, okay, Trevor, where are the bathrooms? I'm gonna be like, I don't know. I can tell you everything. I can tell you where you can get spare change for $1 if you wanted to feed the fish, which you couldn't feed the fish this time of year. I wonder how the fish get fed anyways. And whatnot. But yeah, if you want to know like what size toy, if you're traveling with me to that specific theme park and you want to know like, okay, what size toys can I want, or like what do I need to do to get the large prize? I could be like, here's how you do it. It's pretty straightforward. Yeah. But for the most part, the only thing you're left blind on is where smoking sections are, or I guess drinking areas also, or where bathrooms are. I had this one woman who was like, "Where do you know where like a smoking section is?" I was like, "No, I don't." She goes, "Damn, what about like a place to drink alcohol?" I was like, "No, I don't. I do know that we have a bar, but I'm not sure if it's one open or two. You can just free drink whatever." And she goes, okay. And then I was like, what the fuck is she doing? She's drinking and smoking? Oh my god. Like, you need to get your life in order if you're smoking and drinking. Holy shit. And she goes, "Where are the bathrooms?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know where these things are. I'm just doing my job. Do you want to play a game?" And she goes, "No." I'm like, "Then leave. I don't know. I don't know where this stuff is." I'm sorry if it's echoey in here. Also, I should say that. Um, but yeah, pretty weird. And then I'll just kind of finish off. I will say that like every now and then a supervisor would check up on me, not just me, but like everyone else, be like, "How's it going over here? Like it's a bit slow or it's a bit crowded at the moment." I'm not sure if it's busy, if I can just ask them for help or whatnot, but I'm pretty sure that is something I can do. But I just never did because I don't want to feel like a punk. Like, hey, I'm being paid to do my job. Let me do my damn job. Um, Sorry, there's a screw here. I'm messing with it. Um, but yeah. So every now and then a supervisor would come and help. Usually I was the last game open because I'm 20. A lot of people that run the other games booth were like underage, so that means they had to leave early, meaning my booth was the only one that was open. On like Sundays. Sundays were about the only time that my booth was properly like only open on the weekends. Because I'm 20 and I don't have to go to school unless I was headed to like college or whatever. But even then, I'm 20. Um, I don't I don't need a sleep schedule. I need energy drinks. I need energy drinks and sex. Apparently, those are the two things I need. I don't know where sex came from, but let's just roll with it. Uh, and so, but every now and then, like if my booth is the last one to open, a supervisor would take over. Um, to kind of like, cause to kind of like ease up a bit, or just like if people don't, considering the fact that my booth only had 2 games, then that's where that came. If I was working in like a station that had like 2 booths, like 2 games open, they would have like the other booth with like the other 2 games open. Because each booth had 3 games, but 2 of those booths had like 1 game. Whenever I started working there, all like only one booth had like 2, but then one of the games was like break a plate. We started running out of plates, so there was just like, oh, and we didn't want to order them because it was like so like it would be like up to a point where like it would be useless to buy more plates if we're gonna be using them for like half of the rest of the month and then we're closed. So it made sense as to why that booth was closed. Or whatever. So if I was working the original 2 booth one, um, then a supervisor would just take over and work the other booth that had the 2 games. Just that way, like we're not limited on just 2 games. Now we have 4 games open. Um, and I'm gonna end it with this just because it's so shock. And if you made it through this 37-minute video, you deserve this one. So it was the 31st of October, so Halloween, and so usually around this time you would expect like a lot of people would just like want the toy and then just go, because it's we're not open the rest of the time. Like after Halloween, like we're done. Like we're closed up until like next year of summer. Although my grandma says otherwise. I might have to look at their website and see what's going on, but I doubt I'm working that. So with that, um so yeah, it was Halloween. A lot of people trying to get their like tickets on because you can pre-order tickets and then you can just go in whenever you want. I guess that's how that works, because it's been raining a lot, so a lot of people just wanted to go that day. um so it got pretty busy. But usually with the cash registers you can have like receipts and whatnot. If you work the cards, then you need to get them signed. Although I don't get signatures just because I just want them to get the hell out or go the hell away. And so I was just like, they would sign with the card. Plus the registers were they were pretty terrible. So like I would just have to stand there like, would you like your receipt? They're like, yeah. I like my receipt. I'm like, okay, I could get that for you. And just sit there, waiting and waiting. And then it's like, I hate this. And then I'll hand them the receipt. But a lot of times people don't want their receipts. Understandable. No one wants a receipt as as proof that they suck at a game. But usually with these, like, we usually have like certain trash cans to throw them away in. But I couldn't find my trash can. Well, not like trash cans, like a proper one, but like we just have like a bin that we throw them in. But I just threw them on the floor, or like I would like crumple them up and like put them in like a collection or whatever. And then once I was done, I would just clean up. And so as I was waiting for, like, it was close to like the end of my shift. As I was waiting for my shift to end and whatnot, or for more people to show up, whichever one was first. As I was waiting, I decided to clean up my mess with the receipts and whatnot on the floor and whatever. And as I went and threw all my stuff away, I was headed back to like my area where like I sit in the middle, or like I stand in the middle, and I just like keep an eye on both games to make sure no one's jumping over the barrier, stealing something, or just if people are looking over and in like these certain directions and they're looking at one game, I can look over and be like, do you want to play this one? Or vice versa, if they're looking over here, I can be like, do you want to play this one? And whatnot. And so as I'm walking over to my spot, the in between games, some dude jumped the barrier when I wasn't looking. Again, because I was cleaning up, and so they were distracted and whatnot. And I noticed that this one guy had jumped over the barrier and stole one of the large dogs, jumped over the barrier and sprinted with it. Thankfully, since I was working that 2-booth game, there was a supervisor there. I'm going to go on record and say that if there wasn't a supervisor there, you bet your ass they would have gone away with that, because here's the thing, you're not allowed to like leave your booth for any reason, or if that's the case, then just keep an eye on what's going on and whatnot. Because you need someone to, if you do leave, you need someone else to keep an eye on your booth, so that way no one steals, or if someone wants to play, they can play. But the thing is that if you're the only booth open, then you can't leave because other people could hop the barrier and steal a toy. So you got to keep an eye on your booth. But thankfully, since I was running a 2-booth, which means that the supervisor was running a 2-booth, I did try chasing after him, but I'm like almost 300 pounds and haven't done sprints a day in his life. I decided to run over to the supervisor and be like, yo, someone just stole a toy. And thankfully, because here's the thing. I feel like every games booth needs a walkie-talkie, because something like this could happen. People can steal toys. It's not like it's a fucking fact. It's a thing that can happen. Games is where you would probably find the most thieves outside of candies. And you also have the most entitled assholes there, because they believe that they are entitled to the large prize because they won a game that they find impossible. Just like I mentioned before, I've had an aggressive customer make. I'll kind of give like a brief summary of it. So this one dude wanted to play basketball, but we have and just as a little side note, we have a thing on top that it's like a garage door. So he fell, and he hit the garage door. So the game is like 1 throw for 5 and 3 basketballs for 10. So he paid with the 20, and he's like, give me the 3 shots. So I gave him the 3 shots, and it was $10. I put the 20 in there, but I forgot to give him a 10. So he went through like his 3 shots and missed, and then I was like, let me bring up a farce game, so that way I can give you a 10 back. And he's like, how about we just use up the other 10? So I was like, fine, we can do that. So he uses up the last 10. And he made all 3 shots, and then he wanted 3 of the small toys, which he's not allowed to do. You can get a small toy. He was entitled to like the large toy, but he got a small toy. But if you want a small toy, you can only get 1. So he wanted 3 smaller toys, and then I told him he can't do that, so he got 1 separate toy, and then 2 other separate toys. I'm like, you can't do that, because because he had assumed that he wanted three of the same toy, and he thought it. And I told him he can't do that, thinking that he can only have like one of the small toys. Like all three of the small toys can't be the same toy. No, he can only have one small toy. And I told him that. He started getting angry, calling me a dumbass bitch, asking for a manager and whatnot. And we don't have phones, we don't have walkie-talkies, we don't have any of that. So I legit had to get one of the other people working a games booth and tell him to go get a supervisor because I didn't want her, because she was underage. I didn't know that at the time, but I didn't want her getting involved in my problems. Be like, yeah, can you take? I'm gonna go run to. No, I told her to go get the manager because I didn't want her being yelled at by this guy. So there's that. And we did it, so we don't have a walkie-talkie in there, because if we did, we could be like, yeah, games to a supervisor. I need a supervisor over here right now. There's a customer being aggressive, cussing me out and whatnot. Or at least a phone to be like, yeah, we need someone over here right now. But there's none of that, because games is apparently the safest thing to get. No, we have entitled people. We have people who want to steal, especially with the large games. So if there was a supervisor nearby, then you bet your ass that they would have gone off, because not because I'm too lazy to catch them, but because I would have had no choice. I have to stay here, make sure other people weren't stealing the toys. So the fact that and I can't run, because if I could, then I would have chased after him. Although that would have been a mistake. I would have run over to the candy store and be like, yeah, someone stole a toy. Someone mark it. I'm headed back before someone else steals something. But yeah, so thankfully there was a supervisor nearby. I told her, like, someone stole a toy, and she called it out. But what was funny was, so the supervisor signed me out, and I was headed back to turn in all the money, because I had the money bag stuff and whatnot. And as I went back to the money store, or the money area, verification as it's called, I see my boss, and I'm like, hi. He wasn't angry at me, because I had a good alibi, you know. I was cleaning up after my station. I was throwing receipts all over the place, and I was cleaning up my station, and I tried chasing after him, but I'm fat. But I was like, thank you, I'm sorry this happened. I should have asked him if he needed help, but it was the last day of work. I didn't want to deal with all that. So yeah, that was awkward. So yeah, long story short, someone tried to steal a toy, and they would have gone away with it if a supervisor had been there, because there's nothing I could have done. Yeah. So if there's one takeaway from these stories is, if you ever have a chance, work at a theme park. It is pretty fun to work at. Just do know, like, what you're getting into. It is possible that if you're working the games booth, someone will steal. I would say the toughest part about working here was the people, not the coworkers. The coworkers were fine; they were nice. Just the people, the customers. Some of them were a bit like, really. But I have had customers who were complaining, and then I explained to them, they're like, okay, that makes sense. There was this one person, I remember, I was working the candy store, and since it's indoors, you have to wear a mask, because the whole rule out here is that, like, you can wear your mask, you don't have to wear your mask outdoors, but once you're indoors, you have to wear it. Which is pretty much the general rule, but, like, for the most part, yeah, that's pretty much how it was. And a lot of people would walk in without masks, so we have to tell them, like, hey, do you have a mask? It's like, no. It's like, well, you need one. They're like, okay, and then they'll leave. There was this one guy who was like, hey, I was told that, like, you need a mask to be in here. Does that also mean if, like, you have asthma? I'm like, yes. And they go, why? And I tell them that it's because, like, well, if we have an exception for people who have asthma to not wear a mask, and someone found out, then all of a sudden you're gonna have all these people walking in and be like, I have asthma, I have asthma. And then it gets to the point where we have to ask for proof, and then some people can be a bit like mean and be aggressive about it, you know? And then he was like, yeah, that makes sense. I get it. So he went from being aggressive to just being like, yeah, I get it. So yeah. So I'm gonna end this episode here because my throat's starting to kill me already, and I just started my day. I woke up and went straight to recording this video, so I need to get some food, I need to drink some water or something, and I need to take a shower. I haven't taken one yet. So yeah. Anyways, if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like. Leave a comment if you guys have worked at a theme park, or or if you've worked at a theme park, tell me like a crazy story that happened, or tell me like a crazy story that happened at work in general. I'd love to hear from you guys. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. If you do subscribe, hit that bell notification to be notified as to when I upload, because I don't have a schedule. And if you do want to help out this channel even more, make sure to show this channel or this video with your friends. Because it'll really help out this channel and me a lot, and I do really appreciate it. Loser Manic out.